Frisco ISD is releasing surveillance video of the stabbing at the track meet that led to the death of a student back in April, but only under very strict conditions. So through open records, they will allow whoever requests it to view that video, but no recording whatsoever is allowed. On that note, we sent our IT producer Kelsey Mittauer to watch that video. She joins us now in studio to walk us through what you saw. We're going to go in order here in just a second, Kelsey, but in general terms, what did the video depict? What did you see?
It shows everything from the moments leading up to the stabbing to the medical response to then the beginning of the police investigation.
Okay, and it lasts.
Yeah, got a new show for y'all.
Got a damn good show. But before we get to today's video, don't forget, got a new giveaway. Cummins Turbo Diesel Ram at 10 grand in cash. Get in to win? Just go to my website, officialhorsetwins.com. Anything you buy gets you in it to win.
Several minutes is what they showed.
It did, about 30 minutes.
Okay, so let's start in the beginning now and talk a little bit about what you saw at the front end of that video, because you got to see the attack, the actual stabbing took place.
So it starts, I started watching about 9:53. The camera shows half of the field. So it's about from the 50-yard line on, and the tent where it happened was kind of right in front of the 50-yard line, but the camera is down here.
Okay.
It's positioned across the field. So everybody in the video, you can tell they are kids or adults, but no one's identifiable.
So a long shot is what
a
you
long
see.
shot, yeah.
So a couple minutes in, and you actually see the altercation take place.
Yes, everything leading up to it, everyone's milling about. It seems very normal, and then right at 9:55, that's when there's this explosive movement or action between two people under the tent, and that's when the employees in the room told me that's when the stabbing happened at 9:55.
Right, and you were talking about people kind of start to scatter at that moment. Obviously, something went wrong. And so what happens next? Because now, a little bit later on, that's when the ambulance shows up.
So it seems to me that she said it was just two individuals involved.
Right.
No, on TikTok and social media, they were saying those two brothers teamed up on him.
Yeah, like they tried to jump him.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like there was like a scuffle or anything, or they were fighting. Just looked like the altercation ensued because the kid got stabbed.
Right. Right.
If that's the case, I mean, you have absolutely no self-defense claim.
None whatsoever.
If you just stabbed a kid, now if you're getting your butt whooped by two twins just twice your size, I get it, but
You get it? You think it's self-defense?
yeah, in normal circumstances, but you at a track meet with kids, weapons are not allowed on school property. I was like, you're not gonna have fear for your life at a track meet in broad daylight. I'm like, in normal circumstances, if you got two guys jumping you, they twice your size, yeah, you can defend yourself. But we're talking kids at a track meet. I don't think he has any claim to self-defense.
Yeah. Well, from what I recall, it was like, touch me and see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not even being disputed.
Right. Right. I mean, everybody knows that kid is guilty, is sin. Hey, is it true that they said he's got a 3.4 GPA, the black kid, Karmelo Anthony?
I don't know. I heard some people say he's got a 4.0. Heard somebody else say, no, it's a lie. He's got a 1.1. I mean, it
really doesn't matter. He's going to jail for the next 20 years at least.
Yeah. But it looked like they would have released that footage for everyone to see.
Yeah. I think
If it's that grainy.
Why are you even going to speculate and say it was released? That footage can be enhanced. I bet you that footage is going to seal that kid's fate.
Yeah, the only way he can justify self-defense is if he's walking away and then they come up to him and corner him and not allow him to leave.
Right.
And then they're beating the hell out of him, and then he pulls a knife.
But the kid doesn't even have a scratch on him.
Right.
I mean, forensics doesn't lie.
Right.
Kids do, but forensics don't. That kid is the liar. They didn't even recover the weapon, I don't think.
No. And Karmelo took off running afterwards.
Why are you running? You was defending yourself, right? Only people that run are thugs, criminals. You felt guilty. I just stabbed someone.
Yeah.
Let me try to get away. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they gave you an out. They told you to leave.
Yeah.
All you had to do is leave. It was that instant, leave.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to leave. Altercation ensued. He stabs him, and then he leaves. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All you had to do was leave.
So a couple minutes in, and you actually see the altercation take place.
Yes, everything leading up to it, everyone's milling about. It seems very normal, and then right at 9:55, that's when like there's this explosive movement or action between two people under the tent, and that's when the employees in the room told me that's when the stabbing happened at 9:55.
Right, and you were talking about people kind of start to scatter at that moment. Obviously, something went wrong. And so what happens next? Because now, a little bit later on, that's when the ambulance shows up.
Right. So when the ambulance arrives, it actually comes through near the end zone at the gate, and then it comes up to the 50-yard line directly in front of the tent. You can see Austin Metcalf is right here. But then when they pull up close to the tent, they realize that they can't get the stretcher to him because of the barrier of the bleachers. So at that point, then the paramedics have to get out, and then they have to walk all the way back to the end zone. This is actually, yeah, on the next slide. They have to go all the way back to the end zone and then come all the way back. That takes another couple of minutes. So at this point, they've arrived and they are actively working on Metcalf at that point.
And we want to reiterate, we're using some imagery here to sort of denote exactly what was happening here, these little icons that were using the ambulance, because again, the video was not able to be released. You're watching all of this happen, Kelsey, and you're watching the time sort of elapse. What are you thinking about when you see this, especially when you see sort of the issues in getting Metcalf out of there?
I mean, you know, I understand why it happened the way it happened. They were still working on him, actually. The thing that really struck me is they're working on him, and that's when you see the rain's coming down heavier, and then they actually pull out the blue tarp.
The blue tarp that we saw.
Right, and then I noticed the crime scene tape is already up. I was so focused on here, I didn't even see that, but they're building the crime scene actively around him as they're continuing to work on him in the bleachers.
So that was happening while he was still there.
Yes, he's in the bleachers.
And in closing here, because we know that several minutes had elapsed, and people are sort of scurrying in different areas, what do we know about the suspect in the stabbing, Karmelo Anthony, and his whereabouts?
So I asked the women in the room, the employees, I said, of everybody on this screen, is Karmelo Anthony in here? And they said, you know, we couldn't tell you, we don't know. And honestly, it was so hard. Once it happened, you know, there's people going this way, that way, this way, and this way. So it was just hard to know what direction he headed.
All right, Kelsey, thank you very much for describing that for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, but from what I understood what happened, it was raining outside. We all know that. I think he asked somebody said, yeah, you can sit under the tent, under these bleachers. And then he went and sat down, and then those kids took. I don't know if that dude had the authority to tell him to do that. I don't know if that story's been made up. That's just what I heard. But regardless of what led up to this event, you don't stab somebody at a track meet.
Just because they asked you to leave.
Yeah, that's not self-defense. That's thuggery.
Yeah, and she sounds like she says like it was over quick.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big melee where everybody's fighting and somebody's getting pummeled and then they...
Right. Everybody knows that kid is guilty. The only people don't realize that boy is guilty of sin is the sub-Saharans. But they can't help it. They got low capacity. And they're racist.
Yeah, exactly.